Hey guys, hope you're doing well today. Pull up a chair. You know, Today I wanted to pull some things out of my mind and just put them out there to you all, see if you're feeling the same things. Because last week I went to a social event and the rudeness and the weirdness that I experienced last week, it was on another level. So people were just acting weird. And I've noticed that this mistrust that I've been kind of feeling coming on for years, it's hit an all new high recently. And I think that this is different than what I've experienced in the past. And I actually think people are afraid right now. You hear people saying, that there's been some kind of shift just recently. And I've got to tell you that I think there has been some kind of shift. And I don't particularly like to admit it right now, but I feel fear right now. And that's a strong word, but trust me when I say, I don't want to overreact or anything. And I still feel like things can work out, but there's this feeling in the air, and it took on a whole new thing recently. And I think it's just been a major, major shift. And it's weird because you look up at the sky, you look at everything, maybe your apartment or your house, wherever you live, everything looks the same. But deep down, something out there is very wrong in the world. And it makes you start to believe in like energy and aura and all that stuff. Because if you're like me, you're picking up a lot of weird vibration right now. And the only way I can explain it is when you're having like a really realistic dream, but deep down that what you're seeing is not real. It's a dream, but it's so realistic. And I just feel like my life feels like that right now. And I was wondering the other day, I'm like, is that shock? Is that what shock feels like? Because I know when I had my motorcycle wreck, I got tossed into the ditch. And when I got up, I was like checking to make sure all my limbs were still attached. And I remember the world having this same kind of detached look, like it's not real. I think that's shock. And right now, I've got a hint of that just walking around the house, just going out. And it's especially when I get around people, it's like it's enhanced or something. And I just think there's this underlying current of anger and dissatisfaction right now. And I think it's flowing through our country, the United States. And I think from what I'm hearing, it's also worldwide. And I guess it's some kind of uncertainty, some kind of dread. It's like a feeling of some kind of anticipation, like what's going to happen, And I think part of it is that you don't know what kind of news that you might get at any minute. So it feels like my heart is always beating harder than normal. And I think I had an anxiety attack the other night because I started like having shortness of breath in the middle of the night. And when I got relaxed, everything was okay. But I think I understand a lot more about anxiety now, because I think there's this constant state of stress, this constant low-level adrenaline, and I keep trying to get it to calm down. It's like I'm having to battle it all the time. And I just feel like it really feels like right now in the world that your life could totally be changed at any second. And you could find out about it at any second. And because of that, it's like when I look at my phone, when I turn on the TV, I watch YouTube on the TV, that's become like a source of stress, like what's going to be in my recommended videos. And it's like I'm afraid to look or something. And it's just this overall stress level that's just too high to deal with. And I'm going to try to explain what it feels like to me. So it feels like I'm carrying a weight around on my back, and it's a weight that used to not be there. And so being around people right now feels kind of like it's increasing that weight and the worry. And sometimes I think, well, that's what getting older feels like. You know, you feel like more things can happen. The people around you are older, so you tend to have more fear. But I don't think that's true. I think that this is a lot bigger and it's on a worldwide scale. And I think everybody is feeling what I'm feeling. So that's another reason that I don't think it's just me. And I want you to stay till the end because I want to talk about why I think this might be, why I think that this might be happening. But I also want to hear what you think is going on. Because these times are really tough. I think that I have this longing to go back to a better time. And I can't seem to shake that off. I keep longing for the past. And I was watching these videos that were showing kids from the 1990s walking around in high schools, like a graduation video. Nobody had any cell phones. Things looked so much easier. It looked like they were actually caring about what was happening in that moment and that they weren't lugging around the world's problems in their pocket in the form of a phone, really. And I can't help but associate the way that the world is heading with all of this instant news and all this technology. And it does. It leaves me wanting to go back to the world that I used to know, back to the world that I grew up in. But coming back to right now, I keep hoping things are going to get better every day. And they just keep not getting better. They just keep, in a way, getting worse. And day after day, month after month, things are just not improving. And I agree that it's been happening for years. It's been happening and coming on for decades, but it seems like it's accelerating. And I need a way to release this stress, and I'm trying different things like deep breathing and various things, but I can't find a way to get rid of it. And I just feel really alone. And I want everybody to just care about each other again, But it seems like everybody is dead set on doing bad things to each other, on being aggressive towards one another right now, and really on causing trouble in the world right now. It feels like sometimes that I'm the only sane person in the whole world. And I'm kind of yelling out to everybody, this isn't going to end well, this is a bad idea, that's not good, don't do that. But it just keeps happening. And I wanted to reach out to you guys because no matter how much I say it, it seems like nobody is listening in the world, and we keep dividing ourselves, and instead of coming together and being grateful for what we have. And so I wanted to reach out to you guys because I'm hoping some of you all out there will understand. And this is not about politics as we see politics right now. This is about, I guess you'd call it basic human dignity, basic human morals, that love is better than hate and that kindness is better than aggression. And it seems like that's in jeopardy or something, like we're not sure that that's what is true anymore. And it's not complicated. It's about humanity, and it's about our future. It's about the kids' future, the grandkids' future. And I'm just tired of the distrust that's everywhere. And I'm tired of us all being split apart. I'm tired of feeling that distrust when I go out in public. I'm tired of other people wanting to change other people into what they want them to be, and they think they have the right to do that. And I even go in simple places like the grocery store, and I've talked about that. It's really stressful because it seems like people don't say hi anymore. I mean, sure, people do every now and then, but it's like a weird thing when somebody will say hi back to you. It seems like nobody trusts anybody. It seems like it's getting worse. They just glare at you, walk straight by you. I nod at them, and they're just glaring, walk straight by me. And I'm still trying, though. I'm still trying to be nice. I'm the one that gets out of the way when they're coming at me with a cart. I will open the door for them. I try to be a bigger person. I'm trying to show love through all this. But I said before, I found myself wearing sunglasses in the store just so I don't have to deal with it. But I'm still always on the lookout so I can show a good side to people if they acknowledge me. But anyway, the way I would explain the world that we're living in right now is one word: exhausting. And it's an exhausting time. And it's exhausting because of the way that humans have started interacting now. It's exhausting because of the news that we get bombarded with now. And it's exhausting because we always seem to be on the verge of some kind of catastrophe. And we know that it's not like the past. When catastrophes hit now worldwide, there's a lot of problems that can occur. And I wish I was imagining this stuff. I wish I could blame it on, that I'm getting older or that I have an anxiety problem. But I'm not imagining it. It's real, and I'm going to be honest with you. It feels like a nightmare, and I try to distract myself, but then I come back around to it. And I think this is one of the times in life when being a thinker is actually really bad for your health. You're actually better off to be a shallow person right now, unfortunately. And friendship, I think about that sometimes, and I think back, and it's not like it used to be. It's almost the same thing of the past because, again, I'm older. You can blame it on that. But sometimes I long for that past when I had friends who didn't care about politics or groups or what other people were doing with their lives, and we just cared about a video game or what we were going to go get when we went out to eat. And I remember simple things. I remember my best friend, we used to go, he's passed away now, unfortunately, but we used to plan that we would go drive an hour to Orion's, a buffet. And it was an event. We were like, we're going to go to Ryan's. And we would drive an hour to get there. And that was the thing of the day. That was the stress of the day. We're going to go, what are we going to eat at Ryan's? And so I miss that. And I know that right now I made this channel because I don't relate to a lot of people because I want a simple life. I don't want all this competitive power stuff that we see everywhere up the chain, and it's being put right in our faces, even if we want a simple life. And I think groups, I think groups are fine. Groups of people are fine. But everybody should be welcome in those groups. There shouldn't be hate in those groups. So what happens, I guess, is I end up talking to almost no one right now. I talk to my mom. I talk to you all. And I've got to say that it is lonely. And it's a strange feeling because even though I'm an introvert, I still want to belong to like planet Earth. I want to belong to society in some way and have some kind of part in it. But it feels like we're on the verge of all becoming robots, of all being filled with anger. And if you're not like that, you're not part of any group. Everybody's glued to their phones. They're being told what to think. And it's not good things that they're being told to think. They're being told who to accept, who not to accept. They're being told to believe what those people around them believe, or that they're going to be banished from the tribe, whatever tribe they're in. And I saw a comment that said, social media has made us anything but social. And I think that that's true. That really stuck with me. Social media has started to have a negative effect because people are starting to use it for negative things. It's all becoming about echo chambers. It's where people who all think the same way get together and then they reinforce what they already believe anyway. and get all hyped up off each other. They think, who cares if this is right? Who cares if this is wrong? At least I'm in a group. They engage in, that kind of thought. And it's some kind of dystopian thing that's taking place here. And I noticed something back in 2020 when we were quarantined. And what I noticed back then was that I felt peace. And it felt good back then to be in quarantine sometimes, even though I was afraid of what was going on in the world. But as an introvert, it felt like a peace. But now the world is crazier than ever. So I'm almost longing for that time to go back into some kind of quarantine and to get away from this constant rudeness and anger. And I've kept running, with that quarantine lifestyle as much as I can. But we do have to get out as humans from time to time. If you work, you have to go work, you have to go to the store. And so I think that the biggest problem here is that people have outsourced their thinking to people who don't have their best interests in mind. So we think about the media. We think about politicians. We think about whatever event is going on in the world at the moment to get everybody stirred up. And I think that's a big problem. And I want to talk next, I think, about real connection versus shallow connection. And as an introvert, I personally like deep talks. I don't like shallow talks. So that's a problem in today's world because most of those deep talks and the people who can engage in those deep talks, they're gone. And if you talk for just a minute about something like what we're talking about, even if you just touch on the topic, then somebody's going to get offended because maybe you said something against what they believe or whatever, and they're not willing to be open-minded in the least. So most of the time, I just figure that I'm not going to talk at all. I'm just going to stay to myself. And I think that all this leads to people being disheartened. They don't have hope. These people, almost everybody in the world, we're afraid. And we don't even really know what's going on because we really don't know who or what to believe anymore. And I think all of those things are a big part of this. And I think that a lot of people were told that certain lives were possible. I was talking about the American dream in another video, and I think people are starting to see this is not working out. This is not working out like I was told it was going to work out. But still, people out there keep believing in all these promises told to them by the powerful people of the world. And I think back and I think, maybe people were always like this. And history does suggest that people were always like this. There are always rises and falls of societies, of empires, really. But I ask you this. This is a question I wanted to ask you. Did you think you would be a part of a time like you read about in all the history books, like right now? I did not believe that I would ever be a part of that. I read that like it was a past story, and I was glad, that's not happening. But I'm not so sure now. And I know that there were always people doing nefarious things, behind the scenes, under the table and all that. But now, more than ever, I think these people have permission to behave the way they're behaving right out in the open. And it seems like nobody cares, and it seems like nobody with any power will stand up and say, that's enough. And we're in a dangerous place. I would just like to say, I think we're in a dangerous place. How we got here, that's up to you to decide. Because I'm not 100% sure. I think it's been going on a long time. But I do still feel we should not lose hope. And as it said, there's many a slip twixt a cup and a lip. So things can change for the better, and I believe that they can change very quickly for the better. But I'd like to hear now how you're feeling about things recently. And I'd like to hear if I'm overreacting, if you think I'm overreacting, whatever you believe. I want to hear it down in the comments, because if you listen this long, you're somebody that definitely can talk deep with me. And I just want to thank you for pulling up a chair with me today. And if you want to know why I avoid people now, then you can check out this video next.